Welcome back to another Crypto Gorilla video. I am joined today by the one, the only Jonny Hustlepedia behind the In the Game YouTube channel. First off, congrats on breaking 100K. You're at 104K, so you're growing very fast.
I think that's it's the psychology. They see 100K and people subscribe. It's like, oh, it's like a solidified channel now. Whereas 97K didn't look as good. That's the only thing I can justify.
Yeah, I'm excited. You're going to get your silver play button, dude. That's what I've always been looking forward to with my YouTube channel. You are also the founder behind this thing of ours, as well as Nexus, which is a free-to-use platform. I'm going to put a link to it in the description down below. It's going to be the platform you're seeing all video whenever we show any tokens or if we get into NFTs. It does absolutely everything, cross-chain, great platform. So let's jump right into it with some more general questions about the market. Starting off with, we had Rectember. Everybody was wrong about that. We were all looking at the history of September, how it was usually a down month, a red month for both stocks and crypto. And it ended up being a great month for Bitcoin. Now everybody going into October, as they're calling it, right? Everybody thinks Q4 is bullish. Do you agree with that sentiment? Because the market's typically wrong. So do you think October is going to be a positive month, and then you think Q4 is going to be bullish, or are you waiting more for next year?
Yeah, so for me, like, I think that September, looking back on it, it was probably obvious that it was going to be a good month. If we look at before in August, Bitcoin had went down as low as 52K. I don't remember exactly the low. It went into the low 50Ks. And like, so we had this big dip in August. If we thought it was going to be Rectember, then that 2-month cascade effect on price would have been pretty dramatic. So, I mean, looking back on it, it probably was obvious that it wasn't going to be such a Rectember, but, you know, hindsight's 2020 as always. Looking ahead, we have like this war talk today. Of course, October 1st, they're talking like war and all this stuff. So, you know, that always spooks the market a little bit. But every election year for the last 3 elections, timelines have been very bullish. Crypto has done very well around election season. And as we've talked about a lot on both of our channels, like it seems to be a topic of discussion this time around. So who knows? But personally, I think maybe this beginning of October could test some people and really make them think, are we going to have a bullish Q4? Overall, I don't know. I mean, unless we go into some sort of a world war or something like that, I think that Q4 would still remain a bullish time period just because history repeats itself. Or it doesn't always repeat, but it rhymes. And election season, we just had the rate cut. We have the stimulus going out in China. Chinese markets are looking really good. So to me, I think that factors bullish for crypto. But like you said, when the herd goes one way, sometimes it doesn't always happen that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then we also have this FTX paybacks. I don't think it's going to play out the way everybody thinks it will. I think it's going to take a lot more time, but
the FTX stuff to me, I think those people just want their money back. Are they going to dump it right back into crypto after what happened to them in FTX? Like, and most of the people that kept their money in FTX, they're not the hardcore crypto people. Like, there's not many people that I know personally that are like, man, I can't wait to get my money back from FTX. It's like, it was mainly like whales, companies that kept their treasury there, or just normies who were using FTX.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I do know a couple, but it's like you said, I think FTX also sold their crypto at the bottom. So they kind of got wrecked a little bit there. That being said, September being very positive, a lot of coins pumped, right? We saw pretty much every sector. We saw the majors pumping. We saw AI, gaming, meme coins went insane. And I know a lot of people who they didn't buy in. They thought September was going to nuke. So they were kind of waiting for that dip. And maybe they feel sidelined now and they think they missed their entry. Despite the beginning of October going down, maybe it gives them a new entry. Do you think that they missed their entry and they should be going down the barrel? Or do you think a lot of the coins that you've been talking about on your channel, there's still plenty of X's to come from that?
Yeah, personally, I'm kind of like in the middle. Like I would say, have you missed like maybe the lows on a lot of these altcoins? Probably. But I'm not as extreme as maybe what someone like Becker has been tweeting of like, all you had to do was buy in this time period and sit chill. And now you're chasing these alts. Like, to be honest, we haven't seen any sort of euphoria. Meme coins, just the meme coin craze really started after the last February pump. And so the last time we saw real euphoria meme coins weren't even where they are now. I think meme coins are going to drive the market even higher. These meme coins are going to be doing these numbers. I think gaming alts, AI alts still have plenty of upside left in them. If we look at the market caps of some of these projects, we'll get into them in the video, so I won't like start naming names. But personally speaking, if you have a strategy and you're willing to just be patient, DCA a little bit, keep some stables on the side just in case this war thing happens or whatever the case is, I don't think we've seen half of the euphoria of what we're going to see this cycle. So personally speaking, I think there's a lot of upside left.
That's great to hear. Yeah, and I agree. Let's jump into the gaming sector to start. Not individual games. We're going to talk more infra plays. If you had to pick, let's say you had no gaming exposure at all, right? You don't have your current portfolio. What tokens would you be buying at today's prices looking for a 10x? So you're not trying to be conservative here. You're looking for a minimum of a 10x.
Okay, that's different. So if I'm going to be looking for a 10x right now in the market, I think that there's still some on the table at the top of the line. I don't think that a 10x on Super or Ronin is out of the question, given their market caps. Ronin is warranting of a mid $5 to $10 billion market cap at the peak of this cycle. That would put it at about an 8 to 10x from here. But if you want like surefire, in my opinion, can 10x and potentially will 10x if we see the bull market play out as we've seen it so far. So these will be a little riskier plays, but I think, people will take that with a grain of salt. I think Cetify, I think Moontropica, I think WAGMI Games has a really good chance to 10x. I think that if I'm going to go down the ladder a little bit, Polis from Star Atlas, I think the market cap speaks for itself. I think it can definitely do a 10x. And then I guess if I have to name one more, there's a lot of options I could go with here, but I would have to say maybe a little safer play. 10x might be a little bullish, but I think Wilder World could get up to a couple dollars, and that would put it at about a 10x from here. So that's the 5 I would choose. And those are a little bit down the risk ladder, but I think they're all very good plays.
Yeah, great picks, especially for the Wilder World. I heard a lot of good stuff. I don't hold Wilder World, but I heard a lot of good stuff about the people who got to test it out in Singapore. Looking at, so you mentioned Ronin. I think the big 4, and correct me if I'm wrong, and there's an extra one to add in there, but Ronin, AVAX, Beam, and IMX, I kind of put those in a box together. If you could only pick one of those to have in your portfolio, which one are you picking and why?
I guess my pick's going to be a little different than what an average person would say. The average person would say IMX is the Bitcoin of crypto gaming. Oh, please. AVAX is more of a blue chip. So whenever I invest in AVAX, does it have gaming exposure? Yes. I more so categorize it with my souls of my portfolio. I would honestly, for strength purposes, I would go with Beam. Beam moves the hardest with the market. We're seeing it right now. It's been pumping. It's back above 2 cents in a market that is kind of dumping at this moment in time. So for me, like, I play strength. And when you see times in the market like this, when Beam's performing and the market overall isn't, Ronin's kind of sitting stagnant right now. It's not a concern for long-term, but it hasn't really moved much at all during this, mini little pump that we saw over the last 3 weeks. So for me, out of those 4, if I want the best upside with, in my opinion, still safe downside, I would take Beam.
And then would you hold all 4 of these in a portfolio? Or you think that's overkill and you'd rather pick other gaming coins?
I think if you're going to go 5 coins, for me, it's a little bit different, but it's a mix of the same stuff. It's Beam, Ronin, Super, Prime, and then I would probably, my 5th one, I'd probably go AVAX. I would potentially leave IMX out of my 5 if I'm going into gaming today, strictly because I think AVAX has just as much upside, could get to $100+ potentially even a little higher than that this cycle, while IMX is already a multi-billion-dollar market cap. I mean, if it goes to $15-20 billion, you're going to see stuff like Super, Prime, those types of coins multiply much harder, in my opinion.
Interesting. You still have 3 of those in your top 5 portfolio. Jumping into Super, what's your expectations, whether it's price or market cap? I feel market cap is a lot easier to talk than price, especially maybe not for Super, but a lot of these coins do have unlocks still. So market cap is always easier. What's your expectation for the height of the bull? let's not go like super cycle. Let's just say we have a normal cycle. Bitcoin goes down in a 150 or whatever it is. Where do you think super lands in terms of market cap?
Well, if Bitcoin goes to 150, things could get crazy. That's the thing. And people who watch my channel, I always give conservative picks. So like, I'll also preface your audience, like, I'm never going to be the guy to tell you super's going to $50. Like, that's just never what I would. That's not the type of predictions that I'm going to give just based off market cap. That would be pretty crazy. But I mean, a 10x from here is 5 billion. Given some of the things that I know that's coming for supers, the token integrations, amongst other things, I don't see a 10x being unrealistic. I mean, 5 billion, we're going to see IMX potentially at 15 billion this cycle, 20 billion, in my opinion. I don't think that's too crazy to imagine a world where super's at $3 to $5 billion market cap. And I think that's more of a conservative prediction. I think $5 to $10 in that range is 100% realistic.
Yeah, so many people are bullish on super. Even when I talk to all the other YouTubers, I know people, we're going to discuss this a little later. People always say like, oh, don't pick like these influencer tokens. But when I speak to them privately, like they are very bullish on super. So I'm really excited to see how far they could push it. And I agree. It's definitely one of my top gaming picks. Jumping into,
I want to piggyback on that. So a lot of people, you know, and I see it in the comments too, like, oh, this is just a KOL coin, or this is an influencer scam. Okay. Well, guess what? If you're on a token with a big narrative that everyone's pushing, and it's not a paid campaign. I know nobody paid by super, like nobody. Same. And like, okay, people are always like, influencer hype scam, LEO is just going to drive the price and then it's going to be over. I'm like, okay, well, think about it this way. Are you holding super as like a Roth IRA for the next 40 years? No. You're holding things that you think are going to pump this cycle. So like, I can't stand when I hear that stuff like, oh, it's just going to pump and dump. Well, everything's going to pump and dump in the market. Like that's just how it goes in bull markets. Like we're going to see extreme euphoria and then we're going to see extreme pullbacks. I want to be in on coins that everyone is, you know, really high on, has a lot of influential coverage. Don't always follow influencers' word is bond. But at the same time, like you need coins that are in the attention span because crypto is an attention game. There's great games with terrible attention, terrible marketing, and they don't do the numbers that some of these projects that might not have the entire product built out, but have the speculation and the hype and the attention. So I never understand that. I want coins that are going to pump hard, regardless of narrative. So I always think that that's a little weird whenever I read that stuff.
Yeah, I see it for meme coins too, when they're like, oh, this is an influencer. And it's like, dude, what meme coins are you buying that doesn't have anybody pushing them that's doing really well? Like it makes, I don't know, you want all those people giving attention and marketing the when you hold it, people praise you if you're pumping their coin. If it's something they don't hold, they're like, scam. Jumping into the, yeah, exactly. Jumping into the individual games, same thing. I want you to pick, I want to say 3 here, but I know you're probably going to pick KARRAT and Prime. So let's put 5 and we could just throw KARRAT and Prime in there, assuming that they're one of your picks. So three gaming to like individual games.
Okay. Yeah, Prime, KARRAT, and then I would say Moon Tropica. I would say Wilder World, and I'd go POLIS. Star Atlas.
Yeah. I want to jump into POLIS and POLIS. I keep saying Polish whenever I try to say it. In a minute, are you bullish on Pirate?
I am. I just I don't know. It's not been as strong in the market as KARRAT. KARRAT's price action is just like crazy at times, and like I feel like Pirate's more so been ranging around these areas for quite a while. And it came to market after KARRAT, and KARRAT ranged at like 30 cents for a while too. So it's not that I'm not bullish on Pirate. I think that we need to see the next move for Pirate. How aggressive is it? How much in the narrative does it stay? Because like MPH's community is die hard on that coin, and that's kind of what drives the narrative a lot. I want to see that same thing as a couple months go on during October. How does Pirate perform? I think that would tell a lot for how it's going to do the rest of the cycle.
And I know both Parallel and Pirate, they have like a stake and you get, it's called the proof of play token. I forget what the Parallel one is, but you get a future token. Is that something you're bullish on, their future token?
I have a portion of my bag for Prime staked. I do. I think, you know, the numbers, they're all shaky. Like I will say, whenever you look at like the Prime bulls on Twitter, they'll talk about like, oh, the emission rates are looking like 50% APY on your future speculation of this coin, but nobody knows what that coin's going to launch at. So I'm taking it with a grain of salt. I think I have like 25% of my bag staked, but I bought it $2.70 or something like that. So like I was willing to just put away that with how up it is. So everyone's position's different. You have to time lock it. So it's not for everybody. That's the one thing you have to consider.
Then some people time lock for like 3 or 5 years or something crazy, like
Yeah.
to the next cycle, basically. I
Yeah.
find that crazy, dude. So speaking of Prime, what is your top of the bull price target or market cap for Prime?
Yeah. I think for the branding perspective, they would like me to say 111 because they have like the two, the
I'm seeing that
backslashes
now.
or
Yeah, I'm
whatever.
seeing that on Twitter.
Yeah, so I think they would love for me to say 111. My price prediction, and everyone's like, it's such a big range, but we don't know where the cycle's going. We don't know what the all-time high is going to be. For me, like between 50 to 100 that's happening. We got to $27 last gaming run. Given the fact that they have Colony coming up, the extraction shooter, they're doing a lot of cool stuff. I think $50 to $100 is 100% happening. If it goes above $100, hey, my bags are thankful. But and I mean that would put it at, honestly, the market cap wouldn't even be that crazy at that point in time.
Yeah.
That's what's wild to consider. So I mean, for me, $100 is my target. I would love for it to get there, but I will be taking profits on the way up, no matter what.
Which is the right way to do it. A lot of people think of DCAing in, but they never consider DCAing out. The next one you said was KARRAT, price target or market cap target for KARRAT.
Yeah, I mean, I think the circulating market cap right now is under 100 mil. I want to fact check this really quick, but I'm pretty sure KARRAT, if I look here, is 70 mil circulating market cap. Obviously, the diluted market cap's a little higher, and unlocks are about to begin, but it's one unlock every month for 24 months. So it's very small. Like the emissions aren't really substantial, which I'm very bullish on. I think that on a circulating perspective, we could probably see KARRAT above 500 mil, like a 6-7x from here during the cycle. Emissions are what's going to make it tricky. But I would think that circulating market cap of 70 could get closer to 300 to 500 mil.
And then the other three that you mentioned Moontropica, you mentioned POLIS and Wilder World. Do you have any price targets there that you can give us?
Yeah. And for your audience, they're definitely smart enough to understand market caps matter so much more than price. So always keep your eyes on the market caps for people out there. So Star Atlas DAO POLIS is at 52 mil right now. Even if we just look at the yearly chart, it got up to 66 cents. That was $150 million market cap. I would not be surprised to see POLIS, it got up to 60 cents in December. I would say $1.50, like $300 million market cap, something like that. It's at 50 right now, I think is very realistic. And anything above that is obviously like very, very solid. I think we look at Moontropica. This is the one that has like the most upside potential of anything I've talked about today. And like, I think this recent move just shows that. There's been multiple times where it went from $1.50 to $44. It went all the way down to $6, pumped to 17, went all the way back down to 7, and then just pumped up to $16 the other day. So like this thing has very good pumponomics. I think it eclipses all-time highs with ease. It's like $48. It's at $13.30 right now. I don't know. I think this could approach $100 in the bull, like realistically.
Nice. And then the Wilder World.
Yeah, Wilder World. If I'm looking at the market cap, 68 mil. Yeah, like I said, I think a 10x is almost realistic here. just given the things that they're doing, they're going to be the best open world game in crypto. I got to play it in Singapore. It was phenomenal. I think around 500 mil circulating. It's at 68 right now. I think that that's very realistic.
And then I just wanted to cover some upcoming stuff before we get into the AI portion of the video. I mean, a lot of so actually before we get into that, something with Prime or Parallel, as well as like My Pet Hooligan. I don't know how many users they actually have. I don't think Parallel has a crazy number of users. Do you think that even matters? I mean, we look last cycle, none of these tokens even had working games. Now they do have games. Same thing. I don't know if Illuvium or Big Time have a crazy number of users. Do you think any of that matters? Or in the bull, all it's going to be is narrative, KOLs, and marketing?
I think it does matter, but I think Telegram has made us exaggerate how much it matters. Like, we all like see these games coming out, million players in a week. It's like, it's a little. Honestly, the user counts get a little fishier, right? Like, the metric is so fishy in general because you don't know what's real. It's based off wallets. Wallets can be botted, obviously, even if it's not like botted numbers from the project. If someone's farming, let's say, pixels back in the day, undoubtedly there were botted wallets, 100%. And like Jiho and Ronin, they're the top of the top right now in gaming. But let's just be real. That's probably a lot of the activity there because people were farming the crap out of it. That's just how it happens. So like, I feel like maybe users, if they're verifiable by like an Epic Game Store or a Steam, that would make a lot more metric, bullish sense than like, oh, this game has X amount of active wallets. Because I know people even that play Parallel, they have multiple wallets and they like have different decks and all this stuff. So it is a little bit of a fickle game. I don't put a lot of stock into it personally. It's all about hype, narrative, development, roadmap, speculation. How much are they leaning into the utility of the coin and trying to pump it? Like, it all matters, right?
So one of the games that hopefully gets a lot of players, I mean, there's a few big titles coming. There's the Maple Story. There's eFrontier that was making a lot of noise recently, but Off the Grid is really the main one everybody is talking about. I assume unless they got into the nodes, most people probably didn't get the token deal. Do you view either getting into maybe, I heard a lot of people before, like all the FUD happened with Shrapnel. Do you think Shrapnel, being that it's an extraction shooter on AVAX, do you think it's a good catch-up trade, or you think with all the lawsuits and the token being down, like that's too much of a risk? And then if not, do you also think AVAX is a good catch-up trade since Off the Grid or the Guns token is on AVAX?
Yeah, so we'll start with SHRAP. I think it's interesting because like I did my tier list video. I put SHRAP in wrecked, not necessarily because I don't think the coin can pump, but it's because of the internal lawsuits, the amount of layoffs, the things that I've heard from the internal side. Now, that does not mean the token can't rebound, and it actually has been rebounding recently. I do think that if Off the Grid is the hit that we think it all is going to be, and even Maple Story, they're built on AVAX as well. So if AVAX catches that narrative, you're going to see all the AVAX coins, from AVAX to playable games. You're going to see Domi Online pump. You're going to probably see Shrapnel pump because AVAX is going to be the in thing at that point in time. So absolutely. And the funny thing is, like, a lot of the comments on my video were, what lawsuit? What do you mean? I don't think anything's wrong. So like, a lot of people have no idea that that's even happening, right? So I think that also is an interesting factor. Like, most people still just look at Shrapnel as a blue chip game in the space because they're not tuned in. And really the only public coverage of it was that crypto stash video, which was phenomenal, by the way.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I had sold not because of the lawsuit stuff, just because I tried the game and I was like, oh, this is a bit too early to get that type of adoption. Once you actually show a product and it becomes real and it's no longer speculation, I found it was too early. So I got lucky there in selling. So just to actually, before we close, are you bullish on any TON games? Like we just saw Hamster Combat and Catizen list through Binance, but they've, at least from what I've seen, I haven't checked today, but I think they've been down only since then. Are you bullish on any of these TON games? Is there any token that you're actually accumulating over time, or maybe you're just doing an investment and then you're not looking to actually buy into these?
Yeah. just on the last topic quickly, yesterday on Simplified, Dub even said like, off the grid's like years ahead of dead drop, shrapnel, etc. So I think that also speaks for itself for what you just said.
Agreed.
Like the game has work to do. But on the TON side, that's an interesting one. Like this whole thing with Caddison, Hamster Combat, the way the charts are, Binance is loving it. They're making a lot of money because nobody else knows how to trade these things on TON. So they're making their back end fees on all this volume. Like I think they did like 1.3 billion in volume, Hamster Combat, in like 24 hours or some crazy stuff like that. So I'm not very bullish right now on the current iteration of TON games. I think that there's a couple that I like. TON Station, I've been farming that one. It launches at 2.5 mil. So it's the opposite of what we've just seen. Like these things have been super inflated, and that doesn't leave room for retail. So this is a little bit of a different approach. If this one doesn't like work out, I think the whole TON thing has to change. We have to see better products, and we also have to see better strategy. Like, why launch a Telegram specific coin when you could just use the Telegram game as top of funnel, bring it into your ecosystem? Like, I'm sure My Pet Hooligan, Wilder World, Star Atlas could make like a little fun Telegram mini game, onboard people, and then bring them into their broader ecosystem of larger products. Like, I think it should be way more treated. And, they mask it as it's UA play, but they're keeping them in Telegram. There's no next step. That's the problem right now. I think games have to think broader and actually use it as UA to their bigger products. And that's how Telegram will make sense long term. I have a bag of TON. I'm not banking on any individual TON project now currently.
Yeah, I think a lot of at least upcoming games, I heard a lot of them are going to be releasing their own Telegram games. And I think one of the reasons is if they want to get their token listed on an exchange now and they have a game, exchanges are requiring them to have players, like actual players, but their game doesn't exist. So a lot of them are using the Telegram game. Yeah, just to like, oh, we have 100, 200, 300K or million users, depending on the game. But what I would like to see, I agree on the integration. Maybe you can farm items in the Telegram game that's actually going to be used in the main game. And it kind of, it starts to introduce them to the lore and the characters as opposed to just like tapping a screen and they're just using you as a user acquisition play, like you just mentioned. I want to jump into the AI stuff now. I think gaming feels a lot easier to understand, especially I think most people watching, they probably grew up playing games. You could look at something and say, oh, that's a great looking game. I want to play it. It's probably going to be really popular. AI, I find it's a lot harder to understand, similar to RWA. People don't even know where to start to evaluate this stuff. They don't know what's real since there's not a product you can look at. You could just look at like a white paper with graphs and you get lost very quickly. So I want to dive into AI here. Starting off with, I call them the big three. Again, maybe there's more of it you could add in here, but Near, Tau, which is BitTensor, and then Render are the three I hear spoken about so much. They're very high on the major list, let's call it. If you only had to pick one of those three, or you can add in a fourth if there's one that's the same caliber as those, which one would it be?
No, I'm doing an AI tier list because of the success of the gaming one, just to keep making people mad. And then also people just seem to really like it. And I've been thinking over like, what is the S tier? There's nothing tangibly that touches those three projects, Near, Tau, Render. For me, I'm not a fan of like where Near is on like market cap dilution a little bit. Like, I don't know. Near isn't as sexy to me in the narrative as a Tau. I think Render actually is the best of all of them. Best product, like use case, business model, whatever. But unfortunately, that's not what we bank on in this industry, right? We bank on the speculation, and Tau is a cult. Like that coin, people think of it as the Bitcoin of AI and like the tech, it's their main net, all this stuff. I'm a Tau. I like Tau a lot. In my recent video, I did like a challenge, or like I did like if you can only hold like 6 coins, and one of them was Tau. I just think you get the cult community, you get a use case of the coin that people think is like the Caspa of AI. Another one that I think has a really good cult, gets kind of termed as like the Bitcoin of altcoins on tech. I would go with Tau, and it's ripped this month. It's up over 100%, and it's like a $4 billion, $5 billion coin. Like, I think that shows enough strength for me also to know that like Bit Tensor is not going to slow down throughout the cycle.
Are you still, considering that it went up so much, are you still a buyer at today's price compared to the other two if you want the maximum returns?
That's where it becomes tricky. If anything, if you're on the sideline and you like Tau, I would just wait. Like, the worst thing that can happen is it leaves without you. There's other plays. And I think that's what people struggle with in this industry. Like, you harp on one coin so much, but then if you miss it, it's like your psyche's all screwed. You have to understand there's other opportunities in the market. There's other coins you can take advantage of. So like for me, I would wait for a dip. Like this thing literally is up on the monthly 101%. There's gonna most likely be a time where it slows down or even takes a little bit of a pullback. Like it went from 220 to 550 this month. It's unheard of price action. I think you wait for a pullback or at least consolidation. Like this thing isn't going to just leave the station at 5 billion market cap and never come back down. Like there will be profit taking. There will be a time in the market where this thing slows down. I think you'll have an entry opportunity. I would not be buying in after 101% month though.
Yeah, people get FOMO and they always buy into the top of the green candle instead of waiting for even a small red day, which is always a good time to buy. Going down the list a little bit, let's do the same thing we did for the gaming tokens. If you're looking purely for a 10x or more, what are your AI picks here?
All right, let's get this is where the fun begins. So for me, I would be looking, GPU has been always one of my favorites. I think GPU still wear it well in the narrative, and it's got GPU as the ticker. Like it's brilliant for AI, and it's kind of like likens itself to NVIDIA with their GPU stuff. I think that that's a no-brainer. I do like Neural AI a lot. These are both $50 million coins. I think they have a ton of upside and a lot of support also from like the top AI guys, which really matters. And then I'm continuing to tread in this area. This one's kind of a sleeper. I haven't talked about it much, but they have like insane tech backing with like sovereign leaders of governments and stuff like that. Like I've actually never even talked about this one beyond like small mentions on my channel. Humans.ai. It's called Heart. This thing is really solid. It's got a $65 million market cap. It is up 47% this month, so it's starting to move. But I think this one can probably do a 10x from here. And I mean, I also think GPU and Neural have the exact same upside potential. Then like the thing with AI is probably that's as low on the ladder as I'm willing to go. Like everything below it is so speculative and you don't really know what's real in AI right now. Like so many projects attach AI to their name. So I would say for me, GPU, Neural, Heart, I would probably look at something a little higher market cap, like a PAL, PAAL, and then probably maybe Desync still as well in the narrative, or 0x0. So those are kind of like honorable mentions. But for me, I'm really focused on that like 50 mil range with Heart, GPU, and Neural.
It's funny, like PAL, OXO, and maybe Neural definitely in his last video. I only know these names because of Becker, which ties into our conversation before about like the influencer coins. He makes his videos. He mentions these coins. I also made a list recently of all the coins he called, get that engagement on X. And some of the comments were like, oh, I would never touch these coins. Like these are the ones you should stay away from. Do you think that is actually valid, or do you think because so many, what's retail going to do to buy AI coins? They're going to YouTube it. They're going to just watch their favorite YouTubers and pick whatever coins they're talking about. So do you think the branding that Becker's bringing to these AI coins, because AI is so difficult to understand and know what the difference is between these coins for most people who just don't have time to do the research, do you think it's like just a good strat to just follow the AI coins he's picking?
Yeah, I mean, in general, at this point in the cycle, probably. At the top of the cycle, no. Please no, right? So like it's all about timing. If you ride these things out through the top of the cycle, AI has another narrative, boom. These coins are getting so much attention from like Becker, Crypto God John, the Eric Cryptomans of the world. Like they're all in on these and their followings really take liking to what they're in on. So like that definitely does matter. And for me with AI, I've gotten to the point where I have to talk to teams before I put my money in it, because like AI is so freaking all over the place. So like I've talked to the neural team, I've talked to the GPU team, I've talked to the heart team. Tau, I've not talked to their team, but I'm more than bullish and certain that that's going to perform, obviously. But like these mid caps, I have to speak with the team before I invest. Like it's gotten to that point. Like OPSEC pulled the plug, and everyone thought OPSEC was this like top tier AI project. That was the turning point for me. Like I need to speak to teams if I'm going to get involved with these things.
And then are you bullish, or are you investing, or maybe not, are you buying on the secondary market any of these DEPIN narrative tokens? I know you did the investment with your Launchpad Nexus into Aether. That one performed really well. There's also coins like IO.net. Are you looking at the DEPIN tokens for maximum returns?
I'm not as high on DEPIN, and for me, like a lot of the AI stuff goes into DEPIN for me, like a render. I think you could do it like an AI DEPIN type of thing. Obviously, I have Aether. I invested before we got Nexus involved, but for me, like I'm not too high on my personal portfolio. I think DEPIN will kill it, but like I'm not going to spread myself too thin on things that like. I stick to the things I'm best at, which for me is gaming, and then high conviction AI and memes. That's kind of where I have a couple RWA coins, you could say, but like, I don't know. I don't want to spread myself too thin on narratives that I'm not just super keyed in on. So that's kind of my approach. I would say Aether is really my only DEPIN play in my portfolio. And I have render. So like I said, it's kind of like a mix.
If there's only 3 coins you can pick, of all the coins I assume that you mentioned, you're going to choose from those. If there's only 3 you can pick, like your must-have AI portfolio, what would it be?
Ooh, the cop-out answer would just be near Tau and render, just not get people wrecked, because AI is so speculative. That's the freaking problem.
Maybe take one from those 3, which I assume is going to be Tau, and then 2
Yeah,
of the lower ones.
yeah, I'd say Tau, GPU, and neural. That's what I would go with currently. Just knowing what I know from these teams, the things that I'm seeing, the coverage they're getting also on bigger channels, etc.
Agreed. Jumping out of this now, I did want to do one question on GambleFi. I feel it's a narrative we hear a lot less about, even though like everybody I know is gambling on all these. When we went to Singapore, how many people went to the casino just to gamble there? They couldn't take not gambling for one day. Are there any GambleFi tokens that you're bullish on?
Look, I'll be honest. I think GambleFi is a bear market narrative. Like people are gambling pump fund right now. They're not going to go deposit their Solana into the casino. Like there are people who still play Rollbit. Like I see it all the time. But like right now, the casino is on chain, and it's pump fund and Bullex and Photon and all this stuff, right? So for me, like I feel like people are more prone to truly gamble in a bear. That's why you saw Rollbit perform like it did in the bear, and now the price action's kind of just been like meh, because people are looking at other narratives. So like right now, I'm not too high on GambleFi. There will come a time again where I think the narrative shifts there, but right now during a bull, I think there's bigger fish to fry.
Agree. Great answer. I agree. Everybody's looking for meme coins they're betting on zoo animals, baby zoo animals.
Yes.
Last question before we close this up. Future tokens. We just saw, Dark Times unfortunately flopped with their launch. I know exchanges are backed up. They've approved a lot of tokens, but they're not launching anything. They just want to wait. Are there any tokens? Let's exclude guns because I think it's obvious you're bullish on guns. Are there any tokens that you're like, oh, I expect this one to do well when it launches?
Yeah. When I'm looking at the market right now, guns, I think Carve can do pretty good. I think Chrono Forge should do pretty well. Beyond that, like it gets so speculative. Like I can even just I'll like browse through really quickly. Like Somo, we'll see. That's going to be a speculative one for sure. I think that there's a couple like Asia ones, like Alto Finance, but it's not even in the gaming space whatsoever. It's like with whenever I invested, they said it's Asia Cabal. I'm like, I'm in, whatever. But Yeah, that's where I would keep it for now. I'm mainly looking at stuff like Guns, Carve, Chrono Forge, as well as like I think Rumble Kongs can do pretty well. Like the valuation was solid. I think that they could probably cook, but it's tough, man. This landscape of pre-market. Would I rather put 15K in a meme coin or 15K in a round that's going to be down 20% when it launches? I'd probably go with a meme coin right now.
Same. Completely agree. Well, dude, I appreciate you doing this. Thank you everybody for watching. Again, I will put a link to Nexus, which is the platform we used the entire video, in the description down below. Jonny, I'd love to do this in the future. Always great having you on the channel. Thank you everybody for watching. We're going to close it here. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, notifications. Thanks for watching the Crypto Gorilla. Peace.